If you're applying for disability benefits or help people that are, the path to success has never been more complicated. Welcome to the Disability Expert Podcast, where we tackle the difficult issues and interview the country's top experts to help you better navigate the disability process. Winning a disability case is hard and keeps getting tougher every day. We can't promise you'll win your case by listening, but we sure think it's going to help.
This really isn't that complicated. I mean, you want to win your case, don't you? Well, then listen to what I say.
Hey, I'm Chad Brown. I'm the host of the Disability Expert Podcast. And once again, we are back with one of the leading disability experts in the country. So excited to have Nick Coleman back with us. Nick, thanks for continuing to do a two-part episode with me on all things disability and AI. How are you doing today?
I'm great, man.
Nick is Arkansas native, longtime disability lawyer, recently transitioned out of the practice of law into his role as owner, founder, engineer, coder, product design for LexMed AI, which is the leading AI resource in the disability, Social Security disability community, in terms of AI, on the leading edge of how AI can be used by attorneys and advocates in representing their clients. Probably nobody knows more than Nick. That's why I wanted to do a whole episode on AI. It's something we hear a lot about, but I don't think a lot of people really, beyond maybe Chat GPT, have much exposure to it. It is impacting the practice of law. It's certainly impacting the disability practice of law. I think as I've prepared for this episode, and I've spent a bunch of time trying to figure out, because we're currently implementing AI in a lot of different ways in my law firm, realized, hey, this is a neat topic. It's interesting, but it's really relevant to the practice of law and people getting disability benefits. So without further ado, Nick, tell us about what is LexMed AI? What's your role there? What's the company do?
All right. So LexMed AI is a platform for Social Security disability attorneys where we are addressing essentially all of the analytic bottlenecks of a case lifecycle in a Social Security disability case. When I say analytic bottlenecks, it's those areas in a case lifecycle that the tech bros aren't solving. It's where the subject matter expertise is necessary to help build out large language models, which is what we're using to help set up strategies for your case, from working on triage to intake to your client, to helping you prepare and dig through medical evidence to help prepare for hearings, finding that needle in the haystack, not just giving you a medical chronology that gives you the high points of the case, but actually giving you insights to why those clinical findings are important, which is vital for a Social Security disability practitioner, and helping attorneys prepare their cases in the event that their client is ultimately denied. So, like I said, we're going from intake to where they're deciding on which cases they need to take, to helping building up the case, to building the case up for appeal. So if it's denied, they can ultimately give that person another bite at the apple if they are denied. And then ultimately, if the attorney is successful, we're going to be hitting on fee petitions, where we help automate the arduous and horrible process of begging a bureaucrat behind some desk at wherever regional office they're at to pay your fee.
I think it's interesting. We've had a lot of conversations. I was at NOSCR. That's actually where we met, and so thankful for that. A bunch of talk at NOSCR, which is 2-3 weeks ago, about AI. We're looking at really practically with our staff, how do we implement AI? I think there's a lot of misunderstanding though about AI, and I've used AI a lot, sort of advanced Chat GPT, Claude type products, and one of the things you realize very quickly is that as sort of a primary source, I think AI has a lot of issues, but as a resource for someone who's skilled and knowledgeable, it can be very valuable and help sort of work through complex issues. And so it sounds to me, I know from our conversations, we're currently using one of your products, is what the attorney needs in this complex environment is the ability to take the software, take the AI, take the advancements in technology, and pull that along beside their staff to help them be more efficient, do a better job, make better decisions, but ultimately represent our clients more competently, more zealously, so that we can make sure at the end of the day, our client who's fighting this massive bureaucratic system is getting every advantage they can to be able to ultimately win their case and get them the benefits they deserve. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, yes, AI is coming. Yes, AI is here. But what that means for us as attorneys and ultimately for our clients is it's an opportunity for us to be able to do a way better job more efficiently and actually help more people. You think that's fair?
That's 100%, man. The way I look at it is it's a force multiplier. It turns you into a super advocate. And I know that because, I've used it in my own practice. The tools that I'm building and offering to law firms today are the ones that I used in my own practice. And I saw what it did to streamline my own practice. So I was already doing fairly well, and I saw how much it helped me spot gaps in my analysis. And, there's a lot of people that just completely write it off, put their heads in the sand, like it's going to go away. It's Pandora's box is open. It's not going away.
Yeah, sure.
So you need to leverage it. Just look at it as a tool. The one way I kind of explain in my talks is I try to follow kind of the 80-20 rule. Like, I can allow it to get me 80% there, and then you still have to be an attorney, validate the accuracy, outputs. You still have to do some of the front end work to make sure that you're getting the type of responses you want if you're using like one of the Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini or something like that. But ultimately, the way I present it is we have an ethical obligation to stay on top of technology as far as model rules of professional conduct. Yeah. And if we're not keeping up with the latest trends, then we're not following our ethical duties.
Right.
And as a profession, we're horribly incompetent with technology. And I feel like it's kind of my role as someone who is highly competent to be that source of education and accurate information for people so that they can leverage it in an ethical, professional manner. And ultimately, so that can hopefully give some people some ideas on how they can ultimately be a better attorney, help be a better advocate for their clients, help their bottom line, and ultimately live a better life. And so they're not burnt out doing arduous tasks that really can be automated by a lot of these new systems.
And I think that's sort of I think it's something that I don't think claimants understand, don't know that they need to understand. But for example, for years, my staff works a short work week. We come in a little bit later, we leave a little bit earlier. They leave early on Friday because the emotional weight of stepping in the space every day. We talk a lot of times we talk about like, you shouldn't be a fireman if you don't want to run into the fire. Like, you shouldn't be a disability lawyer if you don't want to step into people's suffering and be able to bear that with them. But that takes a toll on us. It takes a toll on our staff. And one of the things I'm excited about, I had a long conversation with my intake person yesterday, Tia, who's great. And we're talking about the way we do AI and the way we could implement it. She was like, if we could just figure out how to use it to gather the information, like, I love talking with the client and hearing what's going on, but it becomes redundant collecting medicines and doctors and going through that. It's like, just give me the information and let me confirm it and let me do what I want to do, which is help them, have some peace about the process, give them confidence that we're going to be with them. And I think, what's cool is it's not only going to help us be a better lawyer, but I think also properly implemented in the staff, it's going to allow a firm like mine to be able to have staff that can lean into what they really want to do, which is investing in our clients, investing in their mental health, being there for them, supporting them. But sometimes the job can have such drudgery. It's just tough to do that. And I'm excited about that.
Now, you hit the nail on the head. So like a crucial part and vital part of this business is a lot of the hand-holding you have to do with clients. Right. And the thing is when our staff and when we're bogged down with, arduous, mundane processes, we're not able to get the information we need from our clients. The best evidence is the evidence that's coming from our clients, because we don't know where to get the information unless they tell us. Right. And they have to trust us too. Trust is a big part of being an attorney, right?
Sure.
And so having the open lines of communication that you need to get the information you need to better advocate for them, 100%, you got to have that. And that's where you can use AI to help streamline a lot of these processes. Another way that I look at it, as a lot of attorneys know, your attorney often delegating a lot of crucial tasks to staff, right? A lot of turnover with practices. A lot of the way I would like to see this used is almost where it acts as a roadmap for staff, so even they know how to get the information that the attorney needs without having to throw their hands up 2 weeks before the hearing wondering, why didn't you get this medical record? Why didn't you get this medical source statement? Because it happens. Yeah. That's kind of the way we're trying to build our platform, is to not just make the attorneys better, ultimately makes the internal case life cycle of who's taking on the case initially for intake, to the staff that's helped prepping the case, and talking to the client, and ultimately to handing it over to the attorneys so they're the best prepared they can be before they go before a judge if they haven't been approved at the initial or reconsideration stages.
Yeah, I'm convinced. I don't know what percentage of my staff is fully on board with me and who are just kind of coming because I say we have to go. But Chad Brown Law has, like, my staff are excellent. I have great people that work for me. Chad Brown Law, excellent staff plus AI is better than Chad Brown Law without it. I'm convinced of that. The question is, how do we implement it? How do we use it? Let's switch gears a minute though, because your company is doing some really cool things, medical record summaries, helping with, I know we use it for unfavorable decision review in our federal court practice. I know you're doing some great things with transcripts and VE assessments so that people, without getting deep in the weeds, there's a new set of rules that basically say we have to object to everything at the non-adversarial hearing. We have to object. I don't know who we're objecting to, but like we have to object to stuff. 24.3p, I think. Don't quote me on that, but being able to now have that transcript. One of the things your firm does is you do transcripts immediately after the hearing, so I can get a transcript to my hearing within a day and a half, 2 days, whatever it is, and then I can take that transcript, use sort of your VE assessment tool and some other tools that are out there to be able to say, hey, did they make mistakes that now I'm obligated to, which is almost impossible to do. So historically, it's almost nonsense. Like, we have to object to stuff, but we don't even have time to review the transcript. We're supposed to object to what was there. Now you can do that with you. I want to talk a little bit about your company, but I do want to go back and I want to jump across the aisle a minute though, because there is somebody on the other side of this whole process that's using AI, which is the Social Security Administration. That gives a lot of people concern. There's certainly, what can you tell us without divulging state secrets that they wouldn't give you through your FOIA request? What can you tell us? What can you tell us about how is the Social Security Administration currently using AI, planning to use AI? What do you know about that? What's good about it, and what should give us some concern?
You never know, because with these systems, there's black boxes, and there's got to be biases in their systems. There's got to be things where there's major gaps. I think it's kind of obvious in a lot of the things that they do. They've implemented several programs since 2016 using some more like natural language. Probably we don't have to get into all like the technical stuff, but they've used it throughout the case life cycle, the way they review these cases, from DDS through initial and reconsideration. They've developed software for the ALJs that they don't use. And then the appeals council has the tribunal above the ALJ. They have their own software. They are using a software called Imogen at the initial and reconsideration stages. It's supposed to streamline medical review to hit on where listings are met, where grid cases can be easily approved, that type of thing. And essentially it automates that process, and then where they have it and they hand it off to a very credible state agency doctor that will review it to see if it's valid. So I knew about Imogen back in 2018, and that was when I saw that, and I was like, "There's got to be ways to expose this and look at the gaps." And that's how this really got to get off the ground, is this chart vision product, where we would essentially replicate the things that Social Security is trying to do, probably not effectively, and build a platform for it. Social Security Administration is interesting because they have these tools, for instance, for the ALJs, like what we're doing, auditing their decisions, but ALJs aren't actually required to use the software. And
it's because of the union, correct? Like the union step, the ALJ union is the ALJ union is the ALJ union is in its own personal war with AI, right?
Yeah. And you got a bunch of guys that don't want to use AI to evaluate how accurate their cases are, and they're not. And so we're exploiting the gaps in their erroneous decision making. And the only time that Social Security actually audits an ALJ decision is if it's approved. So there's a lot of cases out there that
they don't care if they deny you an error.
No, it's only if they're approved. And they've had some of the top Social Security people at NOSCR say that. But the problem is lack of transparency. I sent out several FOIA requests just to try to get information on how they're using this stuff. They've done a lot of oversight reports, and they give you some high level overview of how they're using it, but you really don't know what's in that black box. You don't know what kind of biases are built into these systems. And that's where it gets kind of scary with AI. All AI has biases built into it, and it's how those are being applied. And when you've got a government agency that's deciding, who's good, who's just disabled enough and who isn't, it's kind of scary. So that's where it's kind of going back to, well, if they're going to use it, then by God, we need to be leveraging it too to better effectively advocate for our clients.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like my first thought about AI was, they're going to use this and they're going to get all the decisions correct, and they're going to approve the people that are supposed to be approved and deny the people that are supposed to be denied. And I'm not going to have a job. I need to look at opening a family law practice. That was my first thought. I was like, and then I stepped back and I said, okay, I've done this for more than 20 years. It's probably not right. I don't know why. So I was talking to Nick, and it's like, well, yeah, but they're probably biasing the software. They would never admit this. They'll never declare. But the reality is they're probably denying the software. They're probably biasing the software towards lower percentage approvals and lower approval rates. I mean, that'd be my guess. And if that's the case, then I don't have much to worry about, because they're going to get better at denying people, but not for good reasons, just because the software is biased.
Yeah, and just the way they grade cases, as an advocate, you're looking at, 1.04 exists. Foraminal stenosis to me was nerve root compression. And so they're looking at it, it's like, nah, that's a mild impairment. Just the way they say, I mean, that's just one example of getting the weeds of nerdy medical evidence and how we use it. But it's how we evaluate evidence. We are trying to push that it's more significant, assuming that they are trying to minimize it. Yeah. In the same way that someone who's over 50 where a cane is using a cane is going to impact one's ability to perform sedentary work, and they're going to minimize that so they won't griddle them out. While we're going to pinpoint cite every case, every data service where there's an antalgic gait, right? So those are little things I think they're probably doing in at least their medical analysis. And I have no idea how they are actually using real machine learning to pick up on patterns. And are those patterns accurate? How are they using it against certain segments of the population based on their demographics, racial, whatever, that kind of thing. So we just don't know. And that's what's kind of spooky about it. And that's really kind of what's spooky about everything with all of this AI.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it's hard to have done this for 20 plus years and not sort of be prejudiced and believe that they're going to use it for evil, not for good. But I mean, at the same time, I also learned a long time ago, I don't have any control over what they do. I have control over what I do. And one of the things that interesting enough yesterday, so my son's a baseball pitcher, and and he hurt his shoulder lifting, of all things. And so he had to get an MRI, and we were going through the MRI, and so the doctor was like, "Oh, this is from throwing. This is from throwing." And I'm like, he had no issues at all before. My son throws hard. He throws like 95. So like, he's a legitimate high level thrower, and he's got no pain. He has pain. He has this injury because he's front squatting and the weight drops, whatever. So he ends up with an AC joint issue. And so we get the MRI, and it's like, okay, it's red, and they just assume it's from throwing. And the doctor's like, okay, this is just from throwing. And I'm like, well, he's got good mechanics. He's never had arm issues. Like, what's going on? So I'm like, okay, screw this. We're going to chat GPT. Like, I don't believe the doctor. I don't believe the radiologist. So I go to chat GPT. We upload the MRI. We give a full fact history. This is his age. This is his medical history. This is what's going on. What is the most likely cause of injury? Clearly, this is like a contusion from blunt force trauma, and it goes through the MRI, and it pulls out the actual evidence that says this is how we know this is from trauma, which is what he was saying, versus this is the injury from repetitive use. Repetitive use would look like this. Trauma looks like this. It pulls the evidence out of the MRI. It matters because if he has a repetitive throwing issue rather than a bruise, like he has to wait 3 more weeks to throw. If he doesn't, he's cleared to go throw because this was a freak accident, which is what we said. So I'm doing all this because, like, he's my son and I care probably way more about baseball pitching than I probably should, but I do. And I'm thinking to myself the whole time, I was like, oh my gosh, this completely changes our law practice, because now I get to be a doctor. I can actually be a doctor in the practice of law thanks to AI. And now when my client says he has X limitation, and I know pretty sure that that's come from the MRI, now I can take the software, I can put my client's complaints in, I can put the objective evidence in, I can ask him, are they malingering? Is this really the cause? If it is, and they can point to specific pieces of medical evidence. And there's a time coming when I can ask them to take judicial notice of a medical journal that says this is how it works. And all of a sudden, like, I became a super lawyer, right? Because now with AI, I have the ability to basically be a doctor. It's not perfect. I get that. You have to be careful. You still need to draw the conclusions. But in this little exercise with my son, I was like, oh my gosh, we can do this now for hundreds of my clients every year if we need to. And we've all of a sudden we're better, right? And I think for me, like, that's what's exciting about it, is I care about my clients. It's like you cared about yours. They really are suffering. It really is a difficult process. And now I've got a chance to be the thing that I really couldn't be before, which is a true medical expert. And for me, like, that's just super exciting.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I actually used that use case that you do with your son this summer. I picked up a backpack. I lift weights a lot. And so I picked up and pulled, it's been messed up since. So I gave it all the background, the ChatGPT trying to figure everything out. Like, you need to do this test. You need to do that. Now, but going back to your point, it's pretty awesome. And like, one of the things that I showed, like at an Oscar presentation, was like, man, when you look at some of these records, the impressions from these diagnostic tests, like, what the hell does this stuff mean, right? And like, what does it mean in the context of what normal means, right? And like, especially when, like, going back to like how the agency or Social Security judge LJ is going to, minimize mild or moderate findings in an impression. Mild and minor compared to what?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And like, I think what I did was, like, I got Gemini's new image model to be able to portray the normal spine versus what a herniated disc with foraminal stenosis looks like. Or when you're looking at, which is always horrible, is trying to dig through ophthalmology records.
Oh, yeah,
I have no idea what the hell this means, right? Yeah. But like, what is the comparison of someone who has severe cataracts and their ability to see compared to someone with normal vision? And so it's awesome what it can do, because it really does, like I was saying, the force multiplier, like you're saying, it makes you that super attorney that you always wanted to be. It really can make that for you now. So ultimately,
well, there's more to it. I had like 7 other questions I didn't even get to. Maybe in the future we'll have you back. Before we go, though, like, this is an important. The work you're doing is important, because we're going to very quickly face an agency that is AI optimized at some level. Could it be optimized neutrally in our favor? Probably not. Is it optimized against our clients? Probably so. Somebody from the SSA is welcome to tell us what's in these models and answer the FOIA request you filed and prove me wrong. But until then, we'll just go with experience. But it matters because you're giving attorneys the ability to not only fight what's coming in this unfortunate arms race, but ability to be a better attorney, better advocate. How can they get in touch with you? How can lawyers find you to use your product? What's your website? How's your contact? What's your email? Please tell them what it is so they can come find you and be better.
Yeah, man. So we're making tools that regardless of what your technical savviness is, we've made these things simple, stupid. Like if you know how to log into a website, you can log into our website at www.lexmed.ai. And it's as simple as uploading an audio file and clicking analyze or transcript hearing, VE audit, click a button. The ALJ audit thing, you literally just drop an ALJ decision in there and it gives you the analysis in 4 minutes. Same thing with our chronologies. You drop the ERE in, you're going to get the chronology in 3 days. We'll be having pre-hearing briefs that everybody wants. Yeah. And so we'll be offering that. But we don't want you prompting anything. I know if you care about prompt engineering, you've got enough things to worry about. Let me do all the stuff on the back end. I've been sitting in my basement drinking Mountain Dews and eating Hot Pockets like nobody's business for the 3 years, so you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
And so we're making the tools for you. These are subject matter expertise, analysis, deep analysis tools that I used in my own practice, and we've got resounding positive feedback from all of the users that we've used it. And so get out there and check it out.
Will do. Nick, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We'll put your information up so people can find you. We'll drop it in the description as well. But that's all the time we have. My wonderful producer, Heidi, has been giving me the get off the show for like 4 minutes now. So subscribe, hit that button, follow the Disability Expert Podcast where you can find all things expert disability. Find out how to win your case. Find information that makes you more likely to get the benefits you're entitled to. Till next time, thanks a lot.